Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast, and we're looking at playa props here for Game 2 in the Eastern Conference Finals. Getting ahead of this stuff nice and early for you guys on Wednesday as this game tips off on Thursday. Also want you to head to thelines.com, though. Use everything that we have up on the site there, including that prop finder tool, to make sure that you are getting the best juice and the best lines available to you from all these books giving us bets this season. Got playa props in here, should make that clear. Best bets is also available in a separate episode, so make sure you check both those out. We'll have those each and every day now throughout the playoffs moving forward. But Nate, let's go ahead and jump right into, is this your favorite player on the Celtics, Drew Holiday, and his player prop?
It's my favorite player right now. I mean, if you're going to keep making me money, Drew, and books are going to undervalue how involved you become in the offense. So over 18.5 points in assists is where I'll go here. You know, I just went with the rebounds assists in game 1, and he scored 28, which was kind of surprising. I mean, kind of a quiet 28. Like even the rebounds and assists seem quiet. He's just out there for 48 minutes and just doing it all for Boston. Team high potential, 13 potential assists to get those 8 assists. And like I've been saying, like he became a lot more involved the final 3 against Cleveland after they dropped game 2. Now has actually had like more time on the ball, more potential assists than Derek White, and a little bit of a higher usage, about the same usage overall. But in game 1, 19% usage because it's an easier matchup for him for sure. When you can get Drew on the 3rd or 4th defender on a team like Indy, those defenders are just food. Like they are not even legitimate NBA defenders in terms of Tyrese Haliburton, who, you know, I think Drew could, if he was a pettier man, could have hit him with the too little, which he has hit some other people with, and then immediately retracted, as in like, no, don't turn that shit back at me. But in the regular season, yeah, Drew averaged 14 and 4.5 against Indy. So right on this prop, that's fair. Only 14% usage though, and shot 53% from the floor, and he had 90% usage again in game 1. And in these playoffs, he's been much hotter lately, 58% on catch and shoot. And other teams are treating him like the 4th option for sure. So he's getting wide open catch and shoot opportunities. You know, he's also scoring plenty on his own with the pull-ups, with the drives. I talked about how him and Jaylen Brown had more success driving than anybody else on this team last game. And his potential assists overall in the last 4 are 9.8 per game, behind only Tatum. He leads all the starters with ineffective field goal percentage because he's being left a bit open. And I mean, yeah, I think you can trust certain guys to score here, as in 4 guys on the Celtics, as in not Al Horford. Like Al Horford on short rest here after playing 40 minutes, after shooting 3 for 12 from deep, it's just not going to be a reliable source of offense, really. If Kornet's out there for 20 plus minutes, which we expect, he's not even looking at the basket. Like he just is handing it off and then setting a shady screen to get these guards open. So Holiday should continue to be aggressive, which has just been the only issue with him hitting props in Boston, is just like, oh, he's just like not even trying to score. He's just out there, you know, to be a connective piece. But now it's starting to get late in the playoffs. He's a guy, the only guy with a ring on the team, I believe, right? Yep. So right. It's time for him to lead here, to keep scoring and diming up, which he's done. I don't think he's going to be tired. His usage rate actually went up on back-to-backs and on one-day rest this year because of things like Horford needing rest.
Yeah, I believe he and Siakam are the only ones in the entire series here with a ring. So yeah, that adds up. And I mean, yeah, Drew Holiday, like I like adding the assists. I honestly like adding the rebounds too. Like I have no problem with the PRA. I think he knows that like anybody that tries to guard him, to your point, is going to be just mouse in the house kind of stuff. Like you saw him in the post, you saw him crashing the boards. He's wonderful as the dude like coming flying in and grabbing a rebound over a guy who's already in there. I mean, Drew Holiday, if you haven't seen them, go watch highlights of Drew Holiday jumping from when he was much younger. This dude has freaking bounce. And I still believe in his ability to come in over the top of a defense that's boxing each other out and you know, got big guys down low, boxing each other out and get those boards. So I like both of them. I like any way that you want to continue to bet on Drew Holiday, especially because like Derek White's, I'm not saying he's in his head, but there was a little bit of that back and forth with he and Haliburton, and I think that was actually to their detriment. There was 2 threes that were taken that he fouled on in the hopes of getting a block because he's so focused on being mad that Haliburton gave him the little man thing, and Derek White's like, what? You blocked one of my threes? I'm the best blocking guard in the league. So I'm not saying mentally he's out of it, but Drew is just laser focused in a way that, yeah, it seemed like there was a clear turnaround after game 2 there, where before that he just seemed like he was super passive, and somebody probably got in his face and was like, bro, like we need you to be you and not just like stand in the corner and wait for stuff. So guess what? I'm going back to Papa Al unders. And this is an even better bet than last time. And look, let's put it this way. He doesn't hit that 3 at the end of the game. This thing's going under for Papa Al last game. So we were 1 3-pointer away from him going under last game, which would have just been fine for this game for me to go under once again, because this is a clear-cut moment in time where dude just rocked 40 minutes in the game. And to your point, the entire fourth quarter and OT was like Pacers being like, where's Al Horford at? Like, where's that tired man at? Just like you're at the rec and like, that a dude's been on the court for 3 hours and you're like, all right, great, let's attack that guy. He's got knee braces on. He's been playing for 2.5 hours. We can go ahead and take advantage of that. But it's also like, now, does he even play as much? Like, and also shooting 12 threes is a lot of threes. And I understand he took them in the context of the offense for Al. He only hit 3 of them, but he took them within the flow of the offense. They weren't bad shots. It was just like, it was a little bit by design as well, of like, well, if we got to leave somebody open, it might as well be the guy who's been the coldest and the clearly the worst shooter of the 5 that are on the floor. So I'm going right back to it, not because it was so close, but because how many minutes we put him at? Like less than 30, right? Like I can't see him playing 30. There's been a couple of games where he's had massive usage and minutes in these playoffs, and the next game came right back to playing under 30 minutes. He played 34 versus Miami, and that was the game that KP got injured. So they really were just like, all right, well, we're just going to leave you in, I guess, because we don't even have a game plan for how to use Luke Cornett moving forward here. We weren't expecting Cornett to get more than like 8 minutes because we have, if that, right, because we have Kristaps and Al Horford out there. But in that game, he played 34 minutes. Next game, played 23 minutes in the Game 5 closeout. And that thing was kind of over by the third, but there was still a game going on that like they could have left him in there for. Instead, we saw Luke Cornett come in and get those minutes in the Game 5 closeout. Then in Cleveland, 39 minutes on the 11th of May. Next game comes back, plays 28 minutes, right? And by the way, that was not a blowout. Neither of those were. Like the game on 5/13 against Cleveland in that next matchup where he played 28 minutes, that wasn't a blowout where it was like, all right, Luke, go ahead and get the garbage time. It was like, no, Luke Cornett was out there for big minutes in the first half, like 11 of them, and then played 8 in the second half. And there was lineups that had neither of them on the floor, which was doable because Jared Allen wasn't around. But I don't think that we've seen Tatum guard Miles Turner as well, by the way. So it's not like if they don't want to use Cornett, they have to keep Al Horford on the floor. They can go to other small lineups and still feel good about it. Tatum almost got that leading rebounder bet, by the way, to ended up tying with Pascal, so it was a push. But I continue to like him to be a monster on the boards, which is just helping us not necessarily feel like we need Cornett. But I would say that we could also expect Cornett because his minutes were a direct inverse of Papa Al's after those big minute games, right? He comes back in, he plays 18 and 19 minutes, were his 2 highest game minute totals, and those came after Al Horford playing 34 and 39 minutes. So, like, look, man, like 2 days later, I mean, it's going to be the same concept for Horford, and I think they realize, like, he might be a liability on defense earlier in the game than the fourth quarter with how tired he is. I do think you see Luke Cornett come in, as one of the first subs in rotation in the first quarter. If you wanted to go over for him on the PR and a little parlay with Al Horford or something like Al under this amount of points and Al under this amount of rebounds or assists, and then also Luke over 3.5 points, which is what it's at, or Luke over 3.5 boards, which is what it's at, then I'm good with both of those, and over the 7.5 for Cornett as well. I think, he's been averaging 9 about points and rebounds combined, and sometimes it's the points a little bit more than the rebounds and vice versa. Good with all of it for both of them, but I think that you've got to look at that as the game theory here for the big men for the Celtics.
Yeah, 2 more games, Papa Al. 2 more games before Porzingis potentially comes back, it seems like. So he's just got to hold on. Joe's got to manage his minutes a little bit here if he can. And all right, I mean, even if it's not a blowout, like you're saying, like he's going to manage some minutes in the first half. I was surprised that he actually almost went under because it seemed like early on he was getting everything. And everybody who tried to talk Josh off, like, no, don't take the under on extra rest. Don't do it. It almost still hit. So now we definitely go to it when it's short rest and it's a 38, almost 38-year-old man. A couple weeks, I believe, his birthday is in June. So I'm going to take over on Tyrese Halliburton, 3.5 threes, but I think you might as well put money on this plus 220 for him to lead the game in threes, which is, It's just like It's not necessarily a vote in confidence in the man's skill scoring the basketball. It's just like the types of shots he's taking. He's taking 72% of his shots have been from three in his last three playoff games here. 14 of his 18 in game one. No one else on Indy took even 5 3-point attempts. Like Miles Turner would love to get that many threes up, but he can't. He's not fast enough. Boston, with their balance, has 4 guys go for at least 8 3-point attempts. And as we mentioned, Horford took the team high 12 and only hit 3 of them. So it's just going to be a bit spread out for Boston. Plus, they're getting so much going to the basket, which is obviously going to be a higher percentage shot against a team like Indy that just it was the worst rim protecting team in the league post All-Star break in some metrics. So I don't know who's supposed to be the biggest threat for him here. I mean, maybe shooting regression, like I talked about, is a threat in the sense that he shot really well lately, and maybe that comes home, or it's a blowout and he doesn't get to be out there. But I mean, he should be out there for at least 3+ quarters, no matter how lopsided this is. Like, I don't think Indy's waving the white flag that early. And yeah, I mean, he's figured it out. The rough translation that you talked about, which is like, I need to shoot for us to have a chance to win. Since his really quiet game one at MSG, he's averaging 10 attempts, making 5, 48%. And that's just on the road, in fact. And if you remove the game 5 blowout at MSG, he's averaging 6.3 threes per game in these last 3 road games at nearly 28% usage, which is just very uncharacteristic for him. But it's how he's figured out he can impact the game in the playoffs. And he's being smart, using his quickness, relocating, stepping back, finding ways to get the threes off, because he doesn't have that full complement to his game going to the basket. So that's just how he's going to be able to score.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still on. I've got the Halliburton to lead the series in threes bet. I mean, say what you want. Like, Jason Tatum is just not hot from 3, and that would be the other guy that I would think, because of his ability to hit those pull-ups and step back threes himself. Just not it right now. And I'm gonna continue to believe in Halliburton doing that. I like the plus money for over 3.5. I mean, if he doesn't take 16, I still believe he's taking 12 threes. And like, honestly, the mid-range ain't it for him. He's got to get all the way to the bucket. They did a good job of at least keeping him out of there. Threes and assists, I'll continue to like for him. If you get like a 3+ threes and you want to take that with like 8+ assists or something like that, like, I think all that stuff is good. Those are the 2 ways that I'm attacking Halliburton overs if I play them. But yeah, either way, I think that the points and threes will be there for him as well. Obviously, the threes are a better play because, like you said, 72% of these shots are coming from 3. So if he's getting the points, it's because he made those 3-pointers, plain and simple. My last bet here, a little bit scary because it's only a 6.5 points, rebounds, and assists. But the fact that we're getting Sam Hauser props still is ridiculous. Like, why are you guys letting us bet on a guy that's playing 9 minutes per game and is so uninvolved in the offense? And plus, to be honest, like, to be fair, and in support of Sam Hauser's basketball playing abilities, like, ever since that Miami series, Cleveland, if you watch tape of them guarding Sam Hauser, they're literally just like, where's Sam Hauser? Like, where is he? Like, cannot let him shoot. I've been yelled at multiple times for letting Sam Hauser shoot like he did in Miami. Cannot give him open looks. So that's, to his credit. But now there's nothing else that he could do. There's nothing else that he really brings to the table. He was an okay rebounder at times in that Miami series, but that was also sheer minutes. If you look at the minutes for him now, we're basically at 9 minutes per game in the last 5. Hasn't seen 16 or more than 10 minutes rather since the game 1 of Cleveland, and then really hasn't played more than 10 since then. The playoff games he's played in 11 of them, gone under in 9 of them. He's averaging 7.2 PRA during the entirety of the playoffs. But in the last 6 games, really, like I said, since his minutes dropped, he's at 11.6 minutes per game, 2.5 points on 2 field goals and 1.8 threes. Like, it's basically like he's taking 2 threes, and that's about the extent of it. He has been run off the line in like 2 separate games in a way that he took a floater in those games, if you look at the shots. But that's it, right? There's no usage, and there's no open threes anymore. That's for sure. Like, we'd have to get pretty unlucky for him to just like an offensive rebound to go awry and then end up in his hands as off the second chance points. And I'm not as worried about that. The rebound chances, he's got 2 rebound chances per game. He has 1 total potential assist, not 1 per game, 1 total potential assist that he's had in the last 6 games. So just want to make that clear. And if that doesn't do it for you, he's touched the ball 6 times per game in the front court. And that's a touch. That's him putting his hand on the basketball in some fashion. So he's very uninvolved, right? This was at about 7.5. Last game, it was at 11.5. I still feel stupid for missing that. This would have to be a blowout. Once again, for Hauser to get in there. I'm not willing to bank on that. I used it last game. Like I said, in the best bets, I'm taking, I like Indy to be able to cover 10 points, essentially. This might be the last time I'm able to do this. I think this gets under 6.5 by the time we get to the next game. But you're basically hoping that he makes both of his threes and pulls down one of his rebound chances, one of his 2 rebound chances, if things stay according to the average. I'm willing to bet the under on that for Sam Hauser, under 6.5 PRA.
What book did you find this at?
MGM and ESPN Bet are the 2 that have it up, and there was a third one as well.
Because as you're putting it in our show notes, you're going down from 8.5 to 6.5, and now MGM's at 5.5. As I look at the prop finder tool, so yeah, I mean, maybe somebody is like, "What are you doing putting props up for this guy who had 1 total stat in the last game?" And then maybe odds makers are not going to leave this up here. If you want to fade a low volume shooter, I was thinking Aaron Nesmith under 1.5 threes. Like what is he like 3 for 4?
That is a bet of mine
from 3 the last couple games. Like he's not a good shooter. I don't expect him to have much success from beyond the arc here, and maybe to get into some foul trouble. But yeah, that's fine if you get this number for Hauser.
Yeah, 6.5 is the number. Dude, I swear it was 6.5 like 45 minutes ago. I am now also seeing other books caught up to BetMGM. It was BWin, Bet Online, and ESPN Bet. All had the 6.5, and I think they all price discovered BetMGM and went down to 5.5 with them. So yeah, I have Nesmith in my notes as well, under 1.5 threes. The 2 times I've bet on that are the 2 times in the last 10 games that he went over, and it was included a 2 for 2 game against the Knicks that he hit a 3 with like 3 minutes left when they were down 30 in Game 7. So yeah, I'm still down to go right back to Aaron Nesmith under 1.5 threes. I think that's another good look. And like I said, I've also got Cornette and Al Horford inverse there, over for Cornette, under for Al Horford. So we got plenty of props available for you guys in this one. And that is all the time that we have for you as well. So make sure to subscribe to that page. Like the video if you would. It does a long way to support the channel, obviously. We'll be coming back with best bets and play-up props every game moving forward throughout this postseason. So until we see you next, happy betting.